Okay. What is a major effect of the agricultural revolution?
The agricultural revolution marked the beginning of the population explosion.
What was happening before the 17th and 18th century?
Well, in 1350, there was a drop in population and prices, thus creating a labor shortage after the Black Death. Lords responded by reversing the trend toward personal freedom and gradually reinstituting serfdom. Standard of living for peasants declined in the 16th century because there was less food per person and food prices rose more rapidly than wages. This eventually led to the European price revolution. Result was a substantial decline in living standard.
Why did the population growth slow and stop in the 17th century?
Population growth slowed and stopped in the 17th century due to famine, epidemic disease, and war. Famine was the inevitable result of poor farming methods and periodic crop failures. Famine stunned and weakened a population, and a disease such as Black Death finished it off. War could spread the disease. Also, during the 30 Years' War,
I can cut that
our
out.
armies how do you
Requisitioned. Okay.
Our
Armies.
armies requisitioned scarce food supplies for their own use, thus disrupted the agricultural cycle.
What caused few people to die or more babies to be born in the Okay. What caused fewer people to die and more babies to be born in the late 17th century?
Women did have more babies than before because new opportunities for employment in rural industry due to agricultural revolution allowed them to marry at an earlier age, which led to fewer deaths. Bubonic plague disappeared due to stricter measures of quarantine in Mediterranean ports and along the Austrian border with Turkey, and human carriers were isolated. New brown rats of Asiatic origin eventually eliminates the black rats and contracts the plague because the fleas on the brown rats weren't interested in human blood. Also, improvement in the water supply sewerage were promoted by strong monarchies, resulted in reduce of typhoid and typhus. 18th century improvements in the drainage of swamps, marshes, reduced insect population. Advances in transportation, led by strong monarchies, lessened the local crop failure and famine. Later on, war became less destructive. New foods such as potato from South America were the important alternative sources of vitamin A and C.
Oh no, actually no. I'll just wait. What else were other effects of the agricultural revolution?
Since the efficient machinery for farming was often heavy and difficult for women to wield, so women were relegated to other roles in society. Many of them went to cottage industry to supplement family income, and others became servants or forced into other professions. Increase in population also led to more demand for goods. New class of landless laborers, products of enclosures, provided the basis of cottage industry, a big stepping stone to industrial revolution.
Sorry. Okay, keep going.
The farming is done by families in many communities. The peasants follow a village leader's instructions for farming, creating a sense of community and shared common interests. Common land system left open meadows for people to collect hay and also allowed people to put animals out to pasture in communal areas. Go. The open field system was developed by the peasants. The peasants first made the land prepared for crops and gardening. The land was divided into fields that were split into long, narrow rows. Those fields were not enclosed by fences and were later tended to and used by the community. All the peasants' families tended to the crops in the same way. However, this constant farming tired out the soil, causing crop failure. The Scientific Revolution and the Enlightenment, an 18th century intellectual movement that applied reason and science to improve society, led to new ideas. In the late 18th century, these ideas were applied. This led to new ideas in agriculture and peasant life.
Go.
Oh, hello. In this segment, we will be discussing the cottage industry and textile industry. The causes originate in Adam Smith's book, and The Wealth of Nations, and the idea of capitalism. In his book, he stated 3 laws. The 3 laws. These laws are the laws of classical liberalism or capitalism. The first law, the law of self-interest, stated that everyone should look out for themselves and try to gain as much money as possible. The second law was the law of competition. This stated that through competition, prices will go down because people will be competing to sell goods more. The third law, the law of supply and demand, said that the market had high demands and people will have to find a way to supply for these demands. This led to the development of the cottage industry, as well as textile industry because of the high need and demand for goods.
Here's my part. And my peasants. Here in England, fat and meaty animals are praised by society, especially poets and press. Robert Bakewell carefully bred his livestock to produce desirable traits. He primarily used longhorns, which were the most efficient. They also produced the most meat and ate smallest proportions. Later, his assistant, Charles Colling, used shorthorns. He also used Lincolnshire sheep, which produced quality fleece and had fatty meat.